A new week starts right here, right now, live on a Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. It includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together to start off this new week bright and early on a Monday until 11 a.m. Eastern time. 3 hours together, DRS, to look back on everything that we saw this past weekend, the conclusion of the 2024 NFL Draft. Night number 2, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday in the Motor City, rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday afternoon. A weekend that included a ton of playoff action, both on the ice in the Stanley Cup postseason and, of course, around the association. Quadruple headers on both Saturday and Sunday to break down for you here over these next 3 hours.
And we got a lot to go over. And in 2 days, Ben, I believe Justin Timberlake most famously said this, it's going to be May. So you better get ready for Major League Baseball. You got the playoffs heading down the stretch in the NHL and the NBA. We do have that cooling off period, Ben, of the NFL as we await OTAs and also the official start of training camp. So a lot to go over from this weekend. Great on the court action in the NBA. Let's get it started.
DRS, it's a great point. Around the National Football League offseason calendar, there are those dates where the league ramps up in activity. Once again, the NFL Draft this past weekend is certainly that, not just for the newcomers into the NFL, but for the organizations making some moves. And that included even bright and early on this Monday morning before we came on live. Some breaking news out of the store in Dallas. A reunion after 7 years together, but this previous season in New England, Zeke is back as a Cowboy. Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys met this previous week, and they have agreed to terms on a reunion. Ezekiel Elliott, DRS, makes his return to Dallas.
This is how you know you have a horrible offseason, and the fans are so upset that Jerry Jones goes, I'm not going to sign anybody worth any talent, but if we bring Zeke back, I might get a little bit of a reprieve. I saw the news come through this morning. I'm like, that's mildly interesting, but the guy is on one wheel here. You look at the backfield they already have for the Dallas Cowboys. The sentimental value off the charts for what that's going to provide on the field for the Dallas Cowboys, absolutely nothing. Congratulations, Jerry Jones. I don't know, trying to give the fans a crumb at this point.
It's like when you're at a favorite concert and it's a band you've known for 2 decades, but you don't really know their new stuff. So you just yell, play the hits, play the hits. And that's what the Cowboys signing Ezekiel Elliott is. Listen, 8 years in the National Football League, 7 with Dallas. Led the NFL in rushing in his rookie year and in year number 3. But year number 3 was way back in 2018. Had a semi-productive year in Foxborough with the Pats. Heavily involved in the passing game out of the backfield. Yes, as you just said there, DRS for the Pats down the stretch. But it's a big signing from notoriety, name, and nostalgia, not necessarily for a franchise-altering move after Dallas failed to select a running back in all 7 rounds of the NFL Draft. We'll talk about that a little bit later on the early line. Now to the NBA postseason and this weekend. A sweep done in only 4 games. DRS, you and I, down the home stretch of this regular season, talked about if the big 3 in the Valley for the Phoenix Suns was all out there on the floor together and healthy, maybe they could make a run come playoff time. Nope. The sun has set in Phoenix. The Minnesota Timberwolves pull off the 4-game sweep over the Suns, winning yesterday in game number 4 on the road in the Valley, 122-116. A slight money line underdog. Phoenix closes a -112 money line favorite. Minnesota, in only 4 games, pulls off the sweep and is the first team in the NBA to advance the second round of the postseason.
Loved everything that I saw from the Minnesota Timberwolves over those 4 games. Absolutely sensational. Young superstars ready to win in closeout situations. Anthony Edwards drops 40 in a closeout game. You take a look at Karl Anthony Towns, who missed about a month of the season. Who knew if we would get him back or even what he would provide in the playoffs? Game number 4, 28 points from 11 of 17 from the field. This team has offense. This team has superstars. This team has defense here. And also, I know we're going to spend a lot of time, and rightfully so, Ben, here on the Phoenix Suns. This team is supposed to go on autopilot right through to the Western Conference Finals. They got swept in round number 1. Talk about a return on investment from those superstars. Absolutely negative.
This entire opening hour, we'll go game by game, series by series, from what we saw this previous weekend around the NBA playoffs. And the focus on Phoenix will be there to start off our next segment. But a new NBA superstar emerges. Mr. Personality, who backs it up on the floor, a 40-piece out of the Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. The most competitive series that we have so far in the NBA playoffs is one we have seen frequently. That's Dallas versus LA, the Clippers versus the Mavericks for the third time in the past 5 NBA seasons. And we're tied now at 2 games apiece. The Clippers were up by 31 points midway through the second quarter yesterday in Dallas against the Mavs. The Mavericks storm all the way back after a absurd Kyrie Irving made layup inside the lane with just over 2 minutes left. Dallas took a lead once again from the very early moments of this game, but then LA responds to the response, and they hold on against Dallas 116-111. The Clippers win outright and even this series at 2 games all.
33 from Paul George, 33 from James Harden, and also no Kawhi Leonard in this game, no problem at all. I wanted to check the score 3 times in the first quarter and said, this has to be an error. There's no way without Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers went on the road and went up 39-16 after quarter number 1. And then, as always, in the NBA, you know you're going to get a run. And it's crazy that Dallas actually took the lead in this game and wasn't able to hold on, because usually when momentum is that far gone, you're not going to get it back. Monster win for the Clippers as they retake home court advantage heading back to LA.
A huge win in 15 points in the fourth and final quarter out of James Harden. Again, further breakdowns and recaps and our estimation for what it means for the series outlook overall later in this opening hour. But let's bring you the scores yesterday in Philadelphia. The New York Knicks on the road take a 3-1 series lead over Philly behind a 47-point performance out of Jalen Brunson. New York wins outright 97-92 as a 5-point road underdog in Philly.
Brunson was tremendous yesterday, 18 of 34 from the field. And that's for a guard, and a small guard at that, which is incredible even to get that many shots off. But he was clutch all the way through. A monster performance for the New York Knicks overall as they now look to close out the Philadelphia 76ers. Me being a Sixers fan, certainly don't like to see it. But I think the sentiment, Ben, after the series was 2-0 New York, you didn't really expect the Sixers to win it here. Maybe force a game 6 or game 7. Now it might only be 5 here as the Knicks take that upper hand.
So slightly surprising, despite New York being the 2 seed, Philadelphia as the 7 seed, we were optimistic on. Elsewhere in the Eastern Conference, the shorthanded Milwaukee Bucks. No Giannis in this series. Damian Lillard injured late in game number 3, misses game number 4. And the Pacers take advantage. Indiana now holds a 3-1 series lead after a 126-113 victory yesterday at home. The Pacers cover as a big home favorite, laying double digits. They were a 10-point home favorite. They cover. Total goes over 216.
51% from three-point range for the Pacers. That's how you get it done against a shorthanded Bucks team. And the Pacers look to close out the Bucks in game number 5.
NHL playoffs now. The Rangers, the best team in the regular season, say damn the President's Trophy curse. They sweep the Washington Capitals in a couple of crazy games. The Vancouver Canucks score in the final 6 seconds of regulation and then win in overtime against the Preds. Now back to the NBA. Donnie's favorite coach, Oklahoma City's Mark Daigneault, wins NBA Coach of the Year. The preseason favorite to do that, his OKC team, Donnie, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
Deservedly so. Great season overall. Now let's see if they can press that lever down and make a run to an NBA title now.
Candace Parker calls it a career. One of the best women's basketball players that we have seen in the previous 2 decades. A 3-time WNBA champion, a 2-time WNBA MVP. Calls it quits on her career, leaving the game better than how she found it. A salute to Candace Parker. Now back to the NBA playoffs. What is happening in Phoenix? And Minnesota is on to the second round. Up next.